Second paper I present on the initiatives of Malaysian higher education in embracing IR 4.0. I believe when we talk about IR 4.0, this diagram is very familiar to us. So we are now in the era of IR 4.0. So robotics, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, digitalization, automations are the familiar terms or familiar concept to us. And in this IR 4.0, okay, we can see that okay, our daily life is fundamentally reshaped. For example, that according to this diagram, there's a 50% of current work activities will be already technically automated. So the global workforce is heavily or intensely impacted by this IR 4.0, and 3 to 14% of global workforce is experiencing switching occupation categories, or maybe they need to acquire new skills in order to perform new tasks. And we can say that this is the biggest shift in employment history. Okay, so for this paper, we will look at the education system. So as an academic in higher education, we know that we shoulder the great responsibility in nurturing our human capital so that they are employable and marketable in the era of IR 4.0. And this is important because the prosperity of a nation's economy is closely linked to the successful or capable human capital. So in this paper, we aim to scrutinize the initiatives launched by the government of Malaysia to develop an education system that is future ready. So let's look at the Network Readiness Index 2019. So in this index, Malaysia is ranked 32nd of 121 countries. All the 31 countries in the top quartile are in fact high-income countries. So Malaysia is ranked 32nd, but all the 31 countries before Malaysia, they are under the high-income groups. Malaysia is the best performing country for other income groups. In the upper middle income range, Malaysia is considered the best performing country under the Network Readiness Index 2019. So we can see that in this table, number 1 is Sweden and so on. So all these are the high incoming countries, and Malaysia ranked 32nd under the upper middle income group. So we can say that Malaysia is sort of ready in terms of IR 4.0. So the Network Readiness Index are based on 4 pillars, which are technology, people, governance, and impact. We know that technology is the heart of network economy. So they will assess the level of technology in terms of accessibility, contact, and future technology. For people, we will look at the application of individual businesses and governments in using the technology. In order to ensure all these are implemented well, the governance mechanism is important. So the trust in terms of security, regulation, inclusion will also be assessed. And the impact, we know technology and advancement, the main aim is to improve the growth and well-being of society and the economy. So the impact on economy, quality of life, and sustainable development goal contribution will be assessed under this Network Readiness Index. So based on these pillars, Malaysia is categorized as number 32 overall. To be ready for IR 4.0, Malaysian government has launched various measures. For example, Ministry of Human Resources have initiated a few strategies by looking into the national policy to empower human capital. So as we say, in IR 4.0, human capital is heavily or intensely affected. So the human capital agenda is the concern under this Ministry of Human Resource. So the labor market, the challenges of future work, the Industry 4.0 impact on human resource is studied under the Ministry of Human Resources. And for Ministry of Economic Affairs of Malaysia, under the midterm review of the 11 Malaysia plan, we can see that in Pillar 5, empowering human capital is also one of the concerns. So the new priorities and new emphasis are formulated under this midterm review of Malaysian plan. As for Human Resources Development Fund, the National Workforce Human Capital Development Blueprint 2018 and 2025 was also initiated to reskill and upskill the workforce to cope with the challenges ahead. As for the higher education system, we have the framework to embrace the challenges. So basically, there are 4 focal points, which are future-ready curriculum, agile governance, talent planning, and research innovations. And here are the example of few strategies or approaches in this IR4.0 framework. Okay, so under IR 4.0, we can say that learners are connectors, are creators, and constructivists. So they are the content producer and they like to share because they are able to access the information freely through open access platforms. They are able to access to experts through technology, and the web is the curriculum that they can navigate. So under this advanced digital technology, we want to form education system that make our learners to be the creator, the connectors, and constructivists. We are experiencing radical change under Nano Certification. So we know that everything needs to be fast and in this IR 4.0. So we cannot spend 5 years or 10 years just to get a certification. So now we have this industry-driven certification, the Nano Certification. So all these certification, a credential will be stackable for them to achieve the degree or recognized qualification in future. So this Nano certification will be stackable and recognized. Okay, so now let's look at the few approaches launched by the Malaysian higher education for both private and public higher education institutions. So we have these 2U, 2I learning degree programs. So 2U is like maybe 2 or 3 years in university to learn about the theoretical aspects, and 2 or 1 year in industry to learn the hands-on practice, okay, with the industry. And the second example here, CEO at faculty, meaning to bring the CEO to the higher learning institutions to share their experiences or their knowledge with the students. They may spend 30 hours a year, okay, to provide mentorship to the students through lectures, through public talks, or maybe to share their inputs on curriculum development, so that we are connected to the industry and to move forward for our education system. And the next one is ICGPA. So ICGPA is an integrated grading system across 8 domains. So there are 8 domains covered in ICGPA for students to identify their strengths and their weaknesses. For MOOC, which is very familiar to all of us, it was launched in 2014, okay, in Malaysia, the massive open online courses. And 2016, the Malaysia Qualification Agency released the guidelines on awarding credits for MOOCs. And for APEL, okay, which stands for Accreditation of Prior Experiential Learning, okay, accreditation of prior experiential learning, meaning that for people who do not possess formal degree qualifications, they are now allowed to enter or to pursue their higher education through APEL based on their working experiences. And gap year is like a sabbatical leave for the students. Maybe after completing their first year, okay, in the university, they are allowed to take 1 year or 2 semesters off from their formal education for personal growth. And the second last of the example here of the initiative is the Malaysian English Assessment, which is to enforce or reinforce the English language aptitude among Malaysians so that we can have a holistic assessment ecosystem to integrate the formal and informal learning to be in line with the CEFR, the Common European Framework of Reference. And for My IT portfolio is a platform for students to store or upgrade their digital resume, their CV, so that they are able to be found easily. And this is to increase the student marketability. They can update their profiles through this platform. So in conclusion, we can say that the IR 4.0 has impacted the higher education. In this environment, higher education shoulder the responsibility to nurture our graduates so that they are able to adapt to survive the challenges and uncertain time. So we need to reform our delivery methods, our assessment formats and ratios, and the resources and the mechanisms. So the initiatives implemented are to equip the Malaysian graduates to be ready in coping the demands of IR 4.0. So the time to act is now. We need to act now. If not, then we will have the risk of falling behind. I believe we all are familiar with the story of the tortoise and the hare. For the tortoise to win the race, it is to be slow and steady. But we know under IR 4.0 environment, we cannot be slow. We need to be fast and steady. So in order to be fast and steady, collaboration is a way for us to move forward. We need not look at our neighbors as competitors. We look at our neighbors as collaborators, as partners. So we work with the institutions, organizations, industries to expand or to extend our impacts so that we can create more opportunities to break barriers and boundaries and to find progress together under this challenging time. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Porky Ping. You nicely presented both the papers.